Welcome to the In Full Bloom podcast. I am your host, Ashley Renee. This is a space where we embrace the power of being true to who we are. We explore what it means to live in alignment with your purpose, values, and voice, because when you root yourself in authenticity, you don't just grow, you bloom. Join me as we dive into real conversations, soulful reflections, and practical tools to help you bloom from the inside out. Welcome back to the In Full Bloom podcast with me, your host, Ashley Renee. Today's episode is entitled Redefining Rest as a Power Tool. So I wanted to talk about rest. I wanted to talk about slowing down, being intentional about taking the time out to make sure that we are feeding into ourselves, making sure that we're being intentional about feeding into our loved ones, our friends, our family, and honestly, just making sure that we are leaving room and space for ourselves to be nurtured, right? When I was growing up, I know that it was all focused on school. Everything was school. Make sure you study hard, make sure you read, make sure you're in your books at all times. There was never room for downtime. Obviously, there were the holidays, there were those moments when, you get to be carefree and you're not on a schedule. But when it was go time, it was go time. There was no time to slow down. And growing up in a Caribbean household, to be honest, I don't remember ever seeing rest being praised. I remember when I was growing up, my mom used to kind of always, on her off days and in her downtime, she used to take naps. So let's say she's doing laundry and she would always tell me, listen, I'm going to take a nap. Do not wake me up until the washing machine stops, right? Back home in Jamaica, we didn't have dryers. So when the washing machine stopped, you had to go outside. It was manual work. You had to hang the clothes up on a clothesline, things like that. And so apart and outside from that, rest was never a thing that we spoke about. It was always like, no, you got to get up early, you got to seize the day, you got to make hay while the sun shines. There are all these sayings, and that is something I grew up with and I took into my adulthood. And now at 30 something years old, I'm being intentional about resting. I'm being intentional about slowing down, about making the time to just feed into me. Making the time to say, hey, listen, I am actually tired. I actually don't have the capacity today. And just really focusing on what it is that I need. What does Ashley need? Is it rest? Is it a case where I'm under a lot of stress in that moment? Is it work? Is it school? Is it family obligations? Is it friends? Is it loved ones? What is it that's going on with me in that moment? I know that a lot of us will say, yeah, we're going to get massages and we're going to do this. And sometimes massages and, the luxury, quote unquote, items in life don't come until we're on vacation. Vacation doesn't happen until 4 every 6 months, in the year. And so sometimes I feel as though, we're on this constant cycle, just running and running and running and going and going and going. And we really don't take that time to prioritize rest. And so for me, wanting to focus this episode on redefining rest is all about seeing rest as a power tool, seeing rest as something to use at your advantage. A lot of times, again, we don't prioritize rest. And so we think that going is getting us to the results quicker, getting us to that destination faster. But really, all we're doing is burning ourselves out. And so for me, rest might look like getting a massage. It may mean focusing on myself so much so that I get up on the weekends and instead of choosing to clean the whole house and make it spotless and make it shine, I may just choose to use one of those days or half of a day to just be on my couch, to just slow down, right? I may make breakfast. I may say, all right, let me catch a movie in between. And then I'm on my couch and then I take a nap. Or sometimes I just choose to relax. Sometimes I'm in PJs all day. And I've had to talk myself out of this notion that rest is being lazy, that it is almost unheard of as a grown up, right? I have the luxury, and I say that because I know parents, and parents can attest to it doesn't matter whether or not you're tired. You have to keep going and you have to do the things. And especially when you have younger children, and I've seen it in my own friend groups and in my households, honestly, where it doesn't matter what's going on. When you're a parent, you literally have to keep going. Your kid has to be fed. You have to make sure that, they're bathed, they look decent, they have somewhere to go, that they're clothed. And so I have the luxury of saying that I am without child or children right now. I'm also single, so I have the choice to get up and be. But for those of us who don't have that quote unquote luxury, right? How can we redefine rest? How can we make it into something where it's intentional, and we're making time for that? Even in the days, even when the moments when, the kids have things to do, and, you and your spouse and your partner have so much going on. Again, we have to make that moment, and we have to set aside that time so that we can be intentional about giving ourselves the time and the space to rest. And so the rest definition that I took from the Webster's Dictionary says it's a bodily state characterized by minimal function and metabolic activities. It can also mean to be free from anxiety or disturbance. And I think about that, and I think about working out. I think about the days when, you go hard, and especially if you're lifting, you lift, you do cardio, you do some HIIT training, whatever it is, you do a mashup of all three. But then they tell you, they meaning like the trainers, I'm not a workout guru, so I cannot help you, but you have to rest. Your muscles need that time to rest in between working out, because you'll never maximize on that muscular growth. You'll never maximize on the workouts that you're doing, because you're constantly putting your body in a state of stress. You're putting your body in shock, basically, because you're not giving it that downtime to recharge. And so when I think about us as human beings, as professionals, as mothers, sisters, aunts, for my guys, whatever it is that your title states that you are, we're always doing something. We're always being someone. And so for me, redefining rest as a power tool just means taking those hats off, allowing myself in those moments. Sometimes I do have responsibilities, and sometimes I do have things that need to be done, but there are moments when not everything is urgent. There are moments when, if I'm being honest, if I had prioritized properly, I wouldn't be rushing to get them done. And so for me, it's redefining how I look at everything. It's making sure that I'm on a schedule with certain things, so when the weekend comes or when I have days off, I can truly sit down and rest, and I'm not constantly running errands and doing this thing and doing that thing. And even now, at this stage in my life, I'm teaching my teenage sister, hey, listen, you have to get some things out early. You might not want to do them. You might not want to focus on that right this second, because, you're focused on fun. But the quicker you get those things out of your way, the quicker you will get to the fun things, the quicker you will have that downtime. Right? So I'm inviting you to release hustle culture. I don't know who came up with it. I don't know where it came from. I know that as New Yorkers, I'm a transplanted New Yorker, but it is something that I've always heard, especially in my college years, growing up, is that you sleep when you're dead. You do all the things now, and you keep going and going and going. You chase the bag, stack your bread, all these things. And for me, I've never really subscribed to hustle culture, because a part of me always says I'm a little lazy, but I truly, truly, truly enjoy downtime. I truly enjoy the peace that comes with not constantly being in motion, the peace that comes with not constantly having to do something. And so I'm inviting you to break up with that culture. I'm inviting you to prioritize you, yourself, the needs of your loved ones, especially if you have a family, but to break up with that cycle. I think too, it depends on your lifestyle. It depends on what your work situation looks like, what your finances look like, but I truly believe that when you are in alignment with what you are called to do, what it is that you can do without much effort, what it is that you can do at a high functioning level that will pay you well so that you can prioritize the things that matter most to you, I think that makes the biggest difference. So break up with hustle culture. I can tell you that from working as a bedside nurse and a nurse in general, because nurses we tend to hustle, and that's just the nature of the job. But I can say that when I used to work as a bedside nurse, being in direct care with patients, to be honest, it was one of the most flexible times in my life, and I did that for about 5 years. And I say that because if you know anything about nurses, or if I have my nurses listening here, we work 312s and we're off for 4 days and we're out and about. And what that means is we work 3 12-hour shifts for the week, and then we may work a fourth, but then we're off all those other days. And while it may seem and sound glorious, a lot of times we're just catching up on sleep. We're catching up on sleep, homework, loved ones. We're catching up on all the things that we have missed in the past 3 days, because while everybody else works a 9 to 5, a 7 to 3, and they're able to have their evenings, their downtime. Sometimes people work night shifts, and so they miss out everything that happens in the daytime. They're literally vampires. They only come out at night. And sometimes it makes it hard for us to catch up on things that are happening. But the hustle mentality comes in play, where I remember always, always, always gunning for a May vacation. And two of my really good friends have birthdays in May. So every May we take a vacation, and it was like an annual trip, and still is, because we just did a trip to Dubai recently and it was absolutely amazing. But saying that to say, I also had friends at work who, funnily enough, shared birthdays with one of my friends. And so I knew that every May we would all be gunning for the same vacation. How selfish would it be of me to want vacation the same time that their birthdays are, when it's not my birthday? My birthday is definitely in January. And every year I would be like, well, you know what? We finna finagle. Like, and my friend knows me very well. She's always like, you about to finagle. I know that's right. But it's something that I would do every year because I was so set on going on vacation. I was so set on being a part of my friends' birthdays, being a part of, their special moments, but also giving myself that moment to travel, to explore the world, to see what's out there. But that meant every May for a couple years, I would make sure that I worked 3 shifts back to back to back, just so that I could get a stretch of 6 or 7 days off without having vacation time. And sometimes what that means is I may fly out, let's say, I don't know, Friday. That may be my weekend off. I may choose to come back Wednesday or Thursday or even the next Friday. But best believe when I come back, I'm just hopping off of a flight 8 to 12 hours before. And so I would do that for years. And sometimes multiple times for the year, because if you know anything about, unions and hospitals and things like that, you know that seniority is what matters. And so your seniors will always get the hot vacations, right? They're always getting the summer vacations, the winter vacations. They're always doing something. People with kids, they may take out the times that you want. And so for years, I would just back to back hop off a flight. The flight gets in at 12 a.m. and best believe by 5 o'clock I'm up, because I got to go to work the next day. For me, after a while, it was like burning myself out to do these things, even though, don't get me wrong, these were amazing moments in my life and some amazing trips that I've had, but not prioritizing that rest in between. And I can say even to this day, sometimes I'm still in that mode where it's like, okay, well, but I only have this much vacation time left. And, you think about all these things, but it's really running from burnout to burnout and coming back to burnout, right? And so sometimes I'll see the memes, and I know you guys have seen where it says, oh, well, you took a trip to escape the thing, but then you came back to the thing and now you're tired, right? And even on vacation, sometimes you go on vacation and you're on excursions. I know me and I know my friends, and we're always on an excursion, at least one, right? Sometimes we'll say, this trip is going to be like chill. We just want to rest. But somehow we find something to do. And, it's a part of the exploration. It's a part of seeing another country, another world. But I think that it is very important to, again, prioritize the things that matter most. We can take trips and we can explore the world, but make sure that we're giving ourselves that downtime in between. If it means that, you have a day where you take that one day between going back to work or between going on the trip and leaving work, maybe that's what you need to do to make sure that you're prioritizing rest. Redefining that rest as a power tool, making sure that you have that time, that moment, that energy to go on the trip, making sure that you have the time and the energy when you come back from the trip to go and tackle work because you know that you have to perform. I also want to visit us girlies who are, again, in our 30s, maybe late 20s, we might be in our 40s even. And we're exploring that side of life where we have to juggle a lot of things. I am currently there. I used to be in my 20s for a little bit. But I made sure that I started prioritizing myself. And as much as it sounded selfish, in some ways it felt selfish, I knew that it was something that I had to do again for me, because working, schooling, trying to date, just do all the things all at once was burning me out. And so I knew that I needed to make a change. But in talking about burning ourselves out, I want to tap on our daily routines. And I think a lot of us don't incorporate rest in our daily routines. It's kind of like, we're going to go to sleep and then we're going to wake up and do it all over again. But incorporating rest in that, I enjoy naps. I can wholeheartedly say, I don't know why our parents didn't tell us about naps when we were younger, to prioritize them, to actually listen when they spoke. Because baby, at this big age, I will wholeheartedly come sit on my couch, turn the TV on, and take a nap 30 minutes later without fail. Okay, and it happens anytime I'm home and I'm destined to be home for that day. I have no plans. Best believe at some point I'm taking a nap. But aside and apart from that, I think it is important though to acknowledge when we need help. And help in that we're not superhuman. We're not meant to be superwomen or supermen. We're not meant to do it all the time. And you can call it what you want, but I think it's been such a game changer. It might be a little hindrance, especially if you're dating. Please get out your house. But I digress. But I think for me, it's been such a game changer when I can say, you know what? I want to clean the house, or I want to do laundry, or I want to do another task, another errand. Let me outsource. Let me get my groceries delivered, right? I know that Amazon and all the people have been game changers for us because it makes it so easy to get things conveniently. But I think it is also important to maximize as it pertains to our daily tasks, our weekly tasks even. I remember listening to a coach of mine some time ago, and she said, sometimes it's so easy to outsource things, and that may be the game changer, right? I know a cousin of mine, if it's one thing she's going to do is make sure that her cleaning lady comes. I think it's at least once a month. And growing up, especially in a Caribbean household, this is not something that I'm used to. I'm used to every Saturday morning, you're getting up, you're making sure that, we play some house music. And as 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock hits, you eat breakfast. Everybody in the house got to be up because hair needs to be washed. Clothes needs to be laundered. Everybody has a purpose and everything needs to be done. I heard her say this. She could have been in her late 30s at the time. And I used to say to myself, why are you, girl, you can easily get a dust cloth and do it yourself. Why do you have a cleaning lady? I'm so confused. But now that I venture into my 30s, sometimes you just need that extra push, that extra help, that extra set of hands, just so that you can either do something else or that you can prioritize you in that moment. And I know there's some people who say, but why would you pay for that? Oh, but it's extra money. I don't understand. I know my friends judge me for doing Instacart, but it is such a game changer. There's nothing like being in bed on a Saturday morning, not at the crack of dawn, waking up and just saying, you know what? All right, groceries are going to come in the next 30 minutes to an hour. I can do something else. Or I can sit here and vacuum in the meantime. So by the time the food comes, my house is clean. I can sit, I can chill for a little bit, and then I can make some breakfast and just be on about my day. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that we have to tap into those things. We have to tap into the possibilities that there are people, there are services out here that are meant to help us. It's not necessarily meant to hinder or make us feel lazy or make us feel like, we're doing bad jobs. But if we can afford to do so, I think that it is something that is imperative, especially as we're redefining rest and what that means for us. Giving ourselves the moment, that time to, again, recharge, because we're not always on the go. We can't remember it all, do it all. It is a moment for us to kind of just reset while somebody else takes care of it. And I think that, especially as women, sometimes we have to acknowledge that we do need the help. We do need that moment where somebody else is in charge so that we get a chance to just breathe. In that, I think we should also be prioritizing the fact that we need 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And this is coming from someone who struggles with that now, especially because my schedule has been a little topsy-turvy in the past few years for work. But now that, I'm getting to kind of like a sense of normalcy with normal hours, I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, I need to sleep. Like, I need to go down so that I can get 7 to 8 hours of sleep every day. And that is something that I am choosing to prioritize. I know that, again, hustle culture has it where we get the bag, chase the bag, do this, do that, and everything is so quick. So even sleep is quick. And we praise getting 5 to 6 hours and being able to function. We praise the fact that we can get coffee and, kill 10 hours of work. But really, we're just running on fumes. Our bodies need rest. Our bodies need to recharge and reset. And it's, to be honest, it's scientific, right? We learn about muscles and the potassium and the sodium channels and all the things. And do not quote me because I have not done biology in a minute, but these are proven things. Our body needs that moment to rest. It needs that moment to recharge, to sit back, to say, hey, listen, not today. I think in redefining rest as a power tool, we also have to think about listening to our bodies. I know me, when my body is tired, and I mean like stressed out, my muscles are so tense, they're so tight, to the point where my shoulders is such a tell. Like, everybody has a tell with something, right? It is such a tell when you see me and my shoulders are basically in my earlobes. And it's funny because one of my uncles, every time he sees me, we'll see each other maybe once every month, every 2 months. And whenever he comes to New York to visit, he'll always put his hands on my shoulders and he'll always say, babe, you got to take care of this. Why are you so tense? What's going on? You need a massage. And I'll always say, yeah, that's just a part of it. I'm a little stressed, but it's okay. And it's not. I think we overlook these things and we normalize them. But our bodies are really saying, girl, you need to take care of me. When we wake up in the morning, our eyes are dry, our tongues are dry, our mouth is dry, we're parched. We're not drinking enough water because we're just constantly on the go. We're not resting, we're not hydrating. Our bodies really are screaming and saying, hey, listen, you have to pay attention to me. And that is not something that I necessarily grew up with. Like, oh, pay attention to your body. Oh, like my mom will tell me, oh, drink some lemon water when you wake up in the morning. But making sure that I'm getting a full night's rest, making sure that, those screens, my mom would always say to me, turn your phone off, make sure that, you turn the TV off, don't watch TV or don't watch anything 30 minutes to an hour before bed, because the blue light and the whatever it is, it affects you. And it's so true. I mean, do I doom scroll? Yes, of course I do. But I do notice a difference when I'm not scrolling, when I'm genuinely tired and I give my body that moment to just speak to me and say, hey, listen, I need rest, and I turn everything off and I go to sleep. I can say that I have no television in my bedroom and I don't miss it. And I think a part of it is knowing that I don't have the distraction, knowing that I don't have something there to keep me up or something to focus on before I go to sleep. And so the only real thing is the phone. And I'm telling you, when my time comes and it's time for me to go to sleep, I am out. Nothing can distract me. But I think we have to be intentional again about making sure that we are redefining rest, redefining those moments, those hours, so that we can give back, so that we can give back to ourselves. We can give that time back to nurturing ourselves. Maybe it's just simple as cooking, giving yourself the time to cook for yourself. Maybe you haven't had a home cooked meal in a while. Rest may look like making sure that you're spending time with your kids, with your family. And that's where the power tool comes in, where you're giving yourself those moments back of just having downtime. I think that one of the most beautiful things that I've seen play out, not necessarily in my life, but in my best friend's life, is whatever she does, her daughter tries to mimic. And I told her that the other day, and I said, you're setting the example. Because for me, as much as we know kids don't like to sleep and, all the things, but I think it's so important that when kids see you do something, especially in their formative years, they try to mimic that. They try to be like their parents. If you have siblings, they try to be like like the older sibling. And I think that is something that's beautiful to watch, because especially as we are carving this path out for ourselves, we are figuring out what life looks like to us, especially us millennials. I think that it's important because we're teaching the younger generations. We're teaching them how to move, how to be, what to do. And so again, for me, hustle culture has never been something that I've praised, but especially as I'm on this journey, I realize that the changes that I make now and the habits that I form now, prioritizing rest, making sure that I'm outsourcing wherever I can, or simply asking for help so that I can focus on other things or just focus on my couch for the day. I think that it is so important to make those changes and develop those habits now, so that when I do have kids, so that my sister, as I know that she's, growing into her mid-teen years, when she sees me, she understands, okay, I don't need to do all the things. I don't need to constantly be on the go. I don't need to always do and do and do. Because our body needs rest. Our bodies need that moment to recharge and reset. So I'm going to invite you to think about this. What can you do today that will allow you to prioritize rest? Of all the things that I've spoken about, of all the examples that I've shared with you, what can you do that will make a difference in your life today? And I am fully aware of the fact that, again, finances may play a role, your family situation may play a role, but what is it that you can do? Who is it that you can lean on so that you can prioritize rest and make that a part of your routine? It might not happen overnight. It may not be the thing you do every single day, but it might mean on weekends. It may be once a month. It may mean dropping the kids off to a grandparent, to a friend, a trusted friend, to a school mom or school dad, so that you can have 2 hours to yourself. It may mean that, hey, I have this project coming up and I have all these things to do. Can you take care of this thing while I take care of that, so that I don't have to do it all by myself? It may simply mean being that girl who orders Instacart on that Saturday morning so she doesn't have to go grocery shopping because she just wants to sleep in a little bit later, right? So what is it that you can do that will help you to prioritize rest? I also want you to think about, what can you reschedule? Are there things on your calendar that's taking up space that are not necessarily a priority? And it may not mean it's not something that's never going to get done. It may just mean simply, I don't need to do it today, but if I pencil it in next week or next month even, at least I will give myself the time, the space, and the grace to get it done and get it done effectively, so that I'm not rushing to get these things done, so that I'm not ticking off the boxes. Sometimes we're ticking off the boxes and that's what's burning up our energy, as opposed to, you know what, let's play this out. Let's take our time. Let's plan it out so that we can do things effectively. What can you reschedule? And then the last thing I want you to think about, sometimes I know that we're in seasons where we have to go a little bit harder than others. But is it your job? Is it the work that you do? If you're in school, I know for me, in the past 2 years, I'm in a master's program, and I can honestly say I had to slow down. I had my head in the books, I was doing all the things. My 30th birthday was coming up. I was like, okay, I'm going to body all these things. I went on vacation. I was taking 2 classes at the time, working full time, doing all these things at once. And I just got to a point where I had to say, you know what? This is a lot. I am tired. I am burned out. Work was taxing at the time. There were just so many things going on in life where I just had to say, Ash, it's really not that serious for you to finish in a year, 2 years. You can hold off. Nobody's chasing after you. Nobody's requiring that you have this master's tomorrow. It's okay. And so if you're in school, maybe you're not in undergrad, right? Maybe you are in a master's program. Maybe you are in a doctorate program. Is it something where you can slow down, take some time off? Maybe you want to take a semester or two off so that you can regather yourself. And that's something that I had to do. I didn't take semesters off, but once I switched to only taking a class per quarter, it allowed me to get the summers off. Last summer I was off, this summer I'm off. And so it allows me to rest, yes, but also use that time in a more effective way. Use that time to do something else. And that something else for me is doing this podcast. So think about what it is that you can change. What can you reschedule? What can you outsource? And if there are changes that need to be made, how can you go about it? How can you pivot? Is there something that you could do that will make you a little bit more effective on the other side? So I just want you to think about these things. Think about redefining rest as a power tool for yourself. Think about the changes you can make, and let me know. Let me know how it works out for you. You can DM me. You can send me an email. Let me know how's it going for you, what's going on. If there's anything that I touched on that you want to talk about, you can always find me at InFullBloomThePod on Instagram or InFullBloomThePod@gmail.com. Please let me know how this episode was. Let me know how you enjoyed it. Also, send me suggestions on what you want to hear. If there is any question that you have, or if you want to be a guest on this podcast, please reach out. Don't hesitate to let me know what's going on. I pray that you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you next week for another. All right, bye.